You guys, this might be the episode you've been waiting for. OMG, we've been talking about the Enneagram for ever. I don't know when I discovered it and just started talking about it all the time. But this is the Enneagram episode. And we don't exclusively talk about the Enneagram, but Rachel Alexandria is an Enneagram expert, and I was so delighted to connect with her on Instagram because Insta's my fave, and Alexandria agreed to chat with me, and I am so excited to share this with you. But I guess first I should tell you who I am, right? So this is Conversations with a Wounded Healer, and I'm your host, Sarah Bueno. So thank you so much for being here today. I am a psychotherapist in Chicago, and I have a private practice called Head Heart Therapy. And I just love talking about healing and spirituality and psychology and all of the things that humans are and humans do. So the Enneagram is such a great way to kind of capture all of the things about humans. So let me tell you a little bit about Rachel. Rachel Alexandria worked for 8 years as a licensed psychotherapist and now serves as a soul medic and mentor to people who want to adult like revolutionaries. Her clients become masterful at stepping through their fears, speaking their truth, and boldly creating lives of purpose and meaning. She's written 2 best-selling books about navigating conflict and conquering the inner critic, and she created the program Tapping for Your Enneagram Type. So I hope you enjoy my interview with Rachel Alexandria. Rachel, welcome to Conversations with a Wounded Healer. How are ya?
I am so good. Thank you for having me, Sarah.
I am so excited. This is another amazing Instagram friendship. We haven't even really made a friendship yet, but I'm 100% positive that's gonna happen in the course of this hour. So yeah, hope that's okay with you.
I am always game for being friends with amazing people.
Yay! Well, why don't we start with you just telling people who you are and what you do?
Oh, okay. So I am formerly a psychotherapist, and I released that specific way of working to become what I am now, which is basically like a guidance support system for people who want to adult like revolutionaries. So I teach, I write books, and I work with people in groups and one-on-ones to really get through their fears and speak their truth and create lives of purpose and meaning. So I work with people mainly to help them create what they've really been aching to build, whether that's like a better life for themselves or, a specific project, things like that. I work with people who have great hearts. That makes my job so amazing because who doesn't want to make somebody who really deserves it into a better version of themselves?
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'd love to hear the origin of Rachel from wherever you'd like to start to what led you to be a therapist and then what led you to make this shift. Because I think that evolution is so important for us to be transparent about.
Cool. Well, the origin of Rachel, long ago up in the clouds, there was this little soul. No, I know. So, from a lot of my early life, my early life, I did have ideas of what I wanted to do. I'd be like, I don't know, I'll just be a writer, like it was easy. Right. Or, I'll just be a star of some kind. Right. But I didn't really, when I was like growing up more, I don't really have the character to become like a performing artist as a vocation or something like that. It wasn't really a big driver, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I just kind of got your run-of-the-mill English degree with poetry writing emphasis, and then was like, I don't know, I'll just get some job or something.
Nice.
And I did that for about a year, and then I was really dissatisfied. I was just like, I don't know, everything feels sort of stale and meaningless, and I don't know, I guess I should just change my life somehow. And instead of at 22 or 23 thinking, maybe I should see a therapist or something. We didn't have life coaches back then, 20 years ago. But I didn't think, I should see a guidance counselor or something. I thought, I'll just go to grad school. That's a good way to reform your life.
And pay, tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I was lucky back then. The first round of grad school I did was a Master of Fine Arts in Poetry.
Oh, wow.
At University of Florida. So I actually didn't pay a lot of money because I had a TA-ship and I had residency my second year and it was a public school. So I actually didn't come away from that much in debt, thank God. So I did that, again, not career minded, just because I was like, I don't know, I feel like I need to keep reinventing myself like you do when you go away to summer camp. So grad school number one was my version of summer camp. And then I came back to Seattle, which is where I ended up living for about 22 years total. And just kind of, again, got a job. Like, it was 2002. The economy wasn't great. And I just kind of got another secretarial job. I didn't know what else to do. Then I ended up meeting my future husband, as I like to say.
Right.
Yeah. And we were good for a while, and we were, living together. And at one point he just said, what are you doing with your life? Like, you don't care about this job and you're not making good money at it. Like, you're so talented, you should be doing something that matters, something you care about, and preferably something that makes better money. I mean, I was making $15 an hour.
Right.
And he was right. Like, I would just sort of roll out of bed and go to this job that I didn't even really need to be at 40 hours a week. I think earlier Rachel didn't want a bunch of rules and obligations, and I didn't know what I cared about that was, going to make that worthwhile. So I found a job that didn't matter that much. I mean, it did to the people who I was working with, but you know what I'm saying?
I do.
So that was my first real come to Jesus moment. I don't know how to better define that.
I know. There is no better term than come to
Jesus. There's no better term.
Really?
Like, just a come to your soul, come to spirit kind of moment. And I looked at jobs online and on the paper, and we still had the paper then. And nothing was obviously going to be any different. And I just remember kind of looking up at the sky and being like, you're telling me it's not that easy. You're telling me I'm going to have to work for it.
Oh.
Yeah. I just could feel it. I just knew. I was like, this is not like, I just get to apply for a job and suddenly make twice as much money and do something that's amazing. No. So when I reflected on it, I was like, what do I really want? And the answer was pretty clear. I was like, I've always, I had a cubicle job where I didn't interact with people that much unless I chose to. And I was like, I hate this. I want to work with people. Turns out I'm a huge extrovert. Putting me in a cubicle by myself is a terrible idea.
Turns out that does not work well for Rachel. Oh, yeah.
I really want to help people suffer less, have better lives. So I was like, frick, I think I need to be a therapist. Life coaching was just
You can say fuck
up
on here, by the way.
Woo!
We endorse the F word highly.
Awesome. Yeah, that was definitely how it felt. I was like, fuck, I have to fucking go to grad school again. I just got out of grad school. Damn it. So it felt like the right thing. And life coaching was just becoming a profession. But when I looked at kind of what was allowed, I really wanted something that let me get into the depths with people, which life coaching, fun fact for your audience who may not know this, life coaching does not give people the license to do that. It does not allow people to work with clients, that have a general assessment functioning lower than 60. So people who are really having big struggles that's affecting their life should not be working with life coaches. So, which I know, but
no, I appreciate that distinction.
Yeah, I don't want to get into sidetrack. There's a lot of amazing coaches out there, and there's a lot of not amazing coaches out there, and there's not enough regulation.
Yes, so agreed.
Yeah. So I wanted to do it the quote right way, and there wasn't really certification and stuff back then. So I went to grad school and got my degree in applied behavioral sciences and became a therapist. And I loved it right during that second year of grad school, which I loved being in grad school for that because it was a very experiential grad school. So it was all about work on your own shit. Yeah. Physician, heal thyself.
Fuck yes.
And it was very systemically oriented, which means, instead of seeing an individual, again, you probably know this, but your listeners might not. Instead of seeing an individual as the cause of the problem, we would look at everything as a system. If you have a problem, what's up with your family? What's up with your workplace? Everything contributes to a person's dis-ease, basically. Yep.
Sounds like social work. I'm in it.
Right. Nice. So I loved that. And in my second year, it was just kind of like a bunch of things happened at the same time where spirit came knocking at my door. What is that? Oh, huh? I hear you.
Hello?
Wait, spirit? It doesn't go away. Oh my God. they just start getting louder and eventually they sweep the leg, they just take you out.
Yeah,
So
that's a really great way to put it. It's so true.
if you don't listen to the whispers, you're not going to like the shouts. Thankfully, I don't do that. So Spirit just came knocking and was like, by the way, Rachel, you're an energy healer. And I was like, what is that? What? No, I don't want to be a crazy person who wears 50 scarves and isn't in touch with reality. But at the same time, like I could feel a part of my heart just like exploding with joy at the same time. I was like, what? So, and I'm an Enneagram 8 for those of you in your audience who know the Enneagram. So
we are going to get into that.
So there's like a very, at the time, like 8s are not great with vulnerability and we're not great with radical inner change that requires us to be messy and not know what the hell we're doing. So that was part of a big journey also. So basically in that second year of grad school, I started like just going to all kinds of spirit workers and different energy healers and spirit like sent me people. And I had my first radical transformationary experience in the moment working with a healer that I was kind of going and I was skeptical, but it kind of seemed like it was getting better. And she led me to my first like, whoa, I was feeling fine. And suddenly I'm like sobbing and I'm good with tears. Like I will easily cry, but I wasn't even tracking. So like she released something from my body that had been this massive pain, and the difference of how that felt and how it came out of nowhere and how I felt after that release. I was like, this is why I got into this business.
Yeah.
This is what I want to help people with, is these radical transformational moments. And then the support in between to like really build upon them to make an amazing life. So I became an energy healer, or I harnessed that, or I claimed it. I claimed my energy healerness after training some in that. And I found family constellations work, and I found the Enneagram.
Yes.
So I started apprenticing in the Enneagram with someone, and I know I did not get my regular certification training. I did not officially do that. I apprenticed with someone for 3 years. That's how I learned the Enneagram.
Wow. Can we just very briefly and then finish your story and then we'll go back into it. But the Enneagram, I talk about it all the time, but I probably don't explain it quite as well as you could. What's the elevator pitch for the Enneagram?
The Enneagram is a system with ancient roots. So there's a lot of personality typing systems that have kind of been created. And I like to say the Enneagram was unearthed from what actually is. It comes from a piece of sacred geometry.
Oh, that just vibrated in my chest. Yeah. Ooh, okay, go on.
It comes from a piece of sacred geometry that has roots beyond what we know. And this piece of sacred geometry can describe so many different things and how they're interconnected. It describes processes. And more than 100 years ago, a couple people were starting to use it to describe types of people and how we are and how we interrelate and how different aspects of us kind of shift and move and work together within us. So the Enneagram, sometimes I like to say, is kind of a mystery school. So a lot of personality type systems.
My eyes just got really big and I cocked my head to the side.
She was like, yeah, Scooby-Doo moment.
Yes. Oh, I love you. I love you.
So it's a mystery school to me. And it's not a thing that most people will get by reading just a book because it requires a transmission. It requires an energy transmission. This is a thing that used to be taught from master to apprentice or master to groups of apprentices who were deeply studying this thing. It's not just a list of adjectives of types of people. And you can't find your type just by taking a test.
No, exactly.
You can get clues to your type. You can get indications. But to really get into the Enneagram is to get access to a path of inner life study that will show you the box that you get stuck in and the box that other people get stuck in, what your energy is like and what other people's energies are like and what motivates and sort of transfixes you compared to other people. So what I love about the Enneagram is there's so many times where I was taking something personally and upon better understanding people's types, I was like, oh, that wasn't about me. They're not being a jerk, or they're not being, or I'm not a problem. And it also showed me hidden gems in my own character that I had thought were problems. And it showed me pieces of how I was behaving and dedicating my energy to that actually weren't helping me, that seemed like they were helping me, but weren't helping me, and pieces that didn't even belong to me, that were really my parents' energies. So it excavated things for me that I don't know how else I would have gotten to. To know the Enneagram is to have access to information about yourself that makes you feel like you're not broken, you're not wrong, and you're not alone. And that's so important for most people. And just knowing, oh, I am this way, and so are 1/9 of the whole population. And it's not wrong. And the world needs all of us. So back to my journey. So there I am in 2006, 2007, getting my degree as a therapist, figuring out this energy healing thing. I was like, I can't go back to grad school again. Oh my God, what is this? Spirit sent me a teacher and then sent me another. And it was, yeah. So then I was learning the Enneagram and learning how my energy healing worked. And so I combined basically being a therapist and an energy healer, and I would kind of offer one kind of session or another. All my therapy clients, for the most part, at some point got some energy work based on their own consent. And I did that for 8 years. And I was running my own business, and I, during that time, wrote my first book. It's called Woman Overboard: 6 Ways Women Avoid Conflict and 1 Way to Live Drama-Free, because I realized, oh, I have conflict avoidance issues, and that created some really big rifts in my life. Like, that's part of what took apart my marriage. I am equi-winged.
Oh, okay. Does that mean both?
Yes.
Okay, this is exactly a question I had for you, because I think that's me too. I'm pretty sure I'm a 3, and I feel like I'm split between 2 and 4 for my wings.
I'm sure you are. And, wings, I think all the major teachers would agree that wings can change. And if really part of the point of the Enneagram is to like walk the whole circuit, is to access all of those different energies, and then, yeah, there's no reason why you can't have energy from both of your wings, especially the healthier you are. I tend to think people who are healthier are more likely to be equi-winged.
Interesting. Okay. The 3 checks off that box. Winning. Got it.
Right? I did it. I win. I'm awesome.
Oh my God. Okay.
You're going to love this, by the way. After I did that Enneagram launch with Sarah Jane and Enneagram and Coffee, people who reached out for podcasts, I think they've all been 3s.
We are the best. Wait, no.
I know.
I don't know. We always think we're winners. Oh my God. Oh
yes.
my God.
So yeah, I was learning the Enneagram, and so I wrote my first book, and around that time, right after that book launched, that next year, I wasn't ever really being that successful financially at what I was doing. I lived in an expensive city. I had my own office, and, divorce had been financially hard. As anybody who's been divorced knows, it's financially hard. And I maybe made some not so smart choices about how we went about that, which at the time seemed kind. And in retrospect, I was like, that was so dumb. So always talk to a lawyer, my friends. Always talk to a lawyer.
Yeah.
And my husband is not a bad person. This is not his fault. This is just, I should have talked to a lawyer. So yeah, I was having some financial hardship. I still hadn't really gotten as successful financially as I needed to, even though I knew my work was good, my clients were happy. And I just was like, Spirit, what is up with this? Why is this always such a slog? I mean, that was a conversation many, many, many times. And I'd be like, should I quit? Should I just go get a job? And always it would be like, no, stick it out, babe.
Wow.
Yeah, that was hard. And for the first few years, I was like, I can't get a job. I love this. And after a while, you just get so worn down by it. I was like, I don't even care. I mean, I care, but this is hard, just too hard. But Spirit kept being like, nope, stick it out. And then it would kind of get better, So in 2015, I was just like, something about this has to change. Tell me what needs to change. And I started getting messages about shifting the nature of how I work, basically. And I had like literally just gotten my full licensure.
Mm.
Because in the state I was living in, you could be basically like a licensed associate
Mm-hmm.
while you were gating all your hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was. And then I finally was fully licensed, did all my tests and everything, fully licensed. And then the next year it was like, and let all that go.
God damn it, Spirit.
Well, funny enough, I am not a 3. I don't really care. I don't care about the credential that much at all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really looked at, is this wise? Like, I want to make sure I'm
Mm-hmm.
not doing something. But I was like, I need to step out of being a therapist because what I want to do is take people further. I want to like really be
Mm-hmm.
in their
Mm-hmm.
lives. I'm making like
Yeah.
claw hands.
Get in there.
I have a client who I still have, and we would go on walks together, like all around
Mm-hmm.
the city, like walking sessions, which
Mm-hmm.
as a therapist feels a little dicier.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to be at people's houses and being able to
Mm-hmm.
help them with their projects. And so I basically shifted to a retainer-based model. So people hire me for 3 or 6 or more months at a time so that they're like bought in. There's like one payment. It's not a decision every time. Should I go back? Can I afford it? I mean, if you can't afford it, like obviously you shouldn't be hiring people who are package deals, but it was more, people who have the money but will go, oh, I'm kind of busy and I didn't do my homework, so maybe I should just
Mm-hmm.
skip this week and save a little
Yep.
money, like that stuff.
Yep.
That is not even in the equation anymore, and I fucking love it. I love that
Ugh.
that's not the deal anymore.
Jelly.
Yeah, yeah, you get it, right?
I do.
Yeah, and I stepped more out of working on kind of your basic mental health issues. Not that they
Right.
don't come up. Like, let's be honest, even if
Mm-hmm.
somebody hires me for this, high level retainer level stuff, mental health issues will still come up. Like, there's still anxiety, there's still depression. It's not like they go away, but that's not how we're focused. I'm still supporting them through it. I still have all my transformational techniques, but it's always with this like eye on the prize of like, where are we trying to get to? But sometimes, like I have one client where we're really trying to help launch his business that has multiple branches. I mean, it is launched, but we're trying to like get him into this next level of online teacher and program provider and stuff like that. And there was a whole season, like a whole package, where all we did was really help him through grief of surrendering a bunch of ideas about family. And one of the parents had died. And that's all you can do, I mean, it's all well and good to say, I want to get this project done, but it's like you can't do it at the expense of yourself. So yeah, this gives me license to work, not license. It gives me the freedom to work.
Nice catch.
Yeah, let me not be
Yeah.
unclear. I'm not licensed to do this, but
Right.
there isn't a license to do this. That's okay. And then, and also in 2010, I became a constellations facilitator, family
Oh,
constellations facilitation. Yeah.
cool. Wow.
And then I wrote 2 more books and created an Enneagram video tapping program. So there's other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but
No big deal, right?
yeah.
So do you consider yourself a healer?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I know some people will say I'm not the healer, Spirit's the
Mm-hmm.
healer and I'm the facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's semantics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I do energy healing work. And yes, of course, what I'm being is a vessel for
Mm-hmm.
the magic of spirit that really is in all of us. I'm being the hose. I'm guiding that energy.
Yeah. And how about the term wounded healer? How does that sit with you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, physician, heal thyself,
Mm-hmm.
I really see that the things that I'm able to work with people on are things where we really get traction. They're all places where I've had to face that kind of thing in
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the 7 or 8 years that I spent not really being financially solid, that was a lot of years of bringing up all my shit. I mean, I always
Yeah.
say to people, if you really want to face your inner shit, start a business.
Yes. Well, either that or have kids.
Oh,
Because
sure.
I feel like I don't have kids,
I
but
don't
from
either.
what I hear with folks who have kids, a lot of the stuff that I intentionally tried to avoid by not having children fucking shows up in my business ownership. I'm like, God damn it.
Rejection, abandonment.
Mhm,
Does anybody
mhm.
really want anything from me?
Perfectionism.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
Procrastination, lack of success,
mhm.
all of your fears will come up when you start a business. But also, like, I find as a healer, and I'm wondering if you find this too, that whatever my clients are about to face, I usually encounter it 3 to 6 months ahead of time. Like, Spirit's like, oh, let me get you prepped for this. smack. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and then I
Yeah.
work through it, and then it starts showing up in all my clients, and I'm like, oh.
Oh, it's so crazy. I started a training for developmental trauma, which is essentially, you
Mm,
know this, but I'll say it for the audience too, like relational trauma based on our childhood, right? When our needs didn't get met. And
mm.
I have not changed my website. I have not done anything to advertise in a different way. And all of a sudden, most of our inquiries are about developmental trauma.
Did people actually say that when they inquire?
When we ask, like, what are you looking? And they may say it in a way that's not the clinical term,
Right.
but that's essentially what they're saying. And I'm
I was
like,
wondering, I'm like, are people starting to use that term? That'd be interesting.
a little bit, a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it used to just be like, oh, my doctor said I need CBT. I'm like, no, you don't. Your doctor doesn't fucking know what they're talking about. You don't need CBT. But if that's what you think you need.
I mean, yeah. Well, I don't want to slander any particular modality, but yeah, agreed.
I have a friend that I went to school with, and every time I mention CBT, he's so funny. He like challenges me in the most gentle, loving way. But Charles, I can't get on board with CBT. I can't.
I find that I think I use it in very specific ways. Like it's a tool like everything else, but it can't be the only tool.
Right.
It just can't be because it doesn't address the body as a whole system.
Right.
We can't just think our way through our problems. We can't just mind hack our way through our problems. Like you need other stuff. You need to involve the body.
Yes. So I want to talk more about the Enneagram because I'm
Yeah, let's do it.
obsessed. And also, I loved the way that you talk about essentially, you didn't say these words, but like activating your client into their like best self, right? And so, how do you use the Enneagram in order to do that with folks?
You know, I wouldn't say I always lead with it. Some people are super into it, and so it comes up a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
I am always with everyone and anyone I talk to or anything, like there's some part of my brain running the database calculations of is it Enneagram type was 6, 7, 4.
Right. You hear some of the keywords and like pings it.
Partly because if I know someone's type, I know pitfalls to avoid and how to treat them better so that they feel seen, heard, and happy, you know?
Let's talk about the 3.
Yeah, let's talk. She's all, let's talk about me.
Right?
Don't you
Like,
love how
that's where
3
I do
rhymes
the
with me?
shit. Right? And it's probably not an accident. But so pitfalls. I'm curious because I've read the books, like you said, but it's funny because there are things about the 3, like I'm a social preservation type. And so I'm like that counter type. So some of the general 3 stuff, like the denial of feelings and that I don't necessarily resonate with.
Right.
So what are the pitfalls for 3s?
Well, so the pitfalls for 3s in their life versus the pitfalls for 3, like for dealing with 3s. I'm actually pulling up my own Instagram list here because
amazing.
I've posted on Instagram a few like type descriptions. So I mean the pitfalls for being a 3. So the tricky part is how do you really know that something matters to you for you and not because of the accolades you're going to get, not because of, I mean, as an 8, I also have this, I could be good at lots of stuff. It doesn't mean I should necessarily do it. But as an 8, those things show up as like challenges of like, oh, this thing could be done and I could get it done. And that would be meaningful in the world and people need it. Or this person right here needs it. And I like getting stuff done and I see how it's very accomplishable. And for 3, it's more like, boy, I sure get a lot of praise for doing this. I should do more of it. But that's very externally motivated, right? Does it really make you happy beyond the accolades? I mean, that's the core 3 challenge. Every Enneagram type has a core challenge. Other challenges for 3s. It's interesting that you have a podcast because a lot of 3s are very like, actually, other 3s do, but are very like, get to the point. Like efficiency, you know what I mean? Is this like, let's just get this.
That's how I am in life for sure.
Yeah. So, and that can be challenging, especially relating to other people who need to tell a full story. Like it's interesting that you're a social worker because you may sometimes have to just sit through people like blah, blah, blahing for a long time before they get to the point and you see the point and you're like, but just do this.
That actually shows up with my staff, I realize, because when I supervise, I'm going in and I have like, okay, we need to address XYZ, and they just need to talk about how they are first.
Yes, they do.
And so I've really like, And what you talked about earlier with like being able to have this compassion, knowing that that's, I'm not a bad person because that's the way that my brain works. It's just,
Exactly.
that's a thing. And so I know that I have to go in there creating space for non-efficient quote unquote conversation so that we can be efficient and get to the important things. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. We need time for task and we need time for
Mm-hmm.
maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And threes, unless they start harnessing their idea of success to
Mm-hmm.
successfully creating maintenance time, like it sounds like you have,
Yes.
like you've figured that out. You've figured out how to
Nope.
no.
I'm in process.
Well, what I said to another type three that I did a podcast with, was she was talking about her type five spouse, make it your job. Make it your job and see how good you get at it. I mean, if you can figure out a way, like what are
Mm-hmm.
the accolades that you get from emotional labor, basically? And it's tricky because they're not obvious. They're not like people don't tend to come up unless they're super savvy. People don't tend to come up to me and be like, wow, Rachel, I really see how that whole conversation we had could have gone pear-shaped, but you did all these things to help hold it
Mm-hmm.
together. No, people are
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I'm glad that worked out. Or they'll be like, oh, I had this great idea. And I'm like, idea came from
Right.
me.
Right. I was literally talking about that in therapy and supervision yesterday
Mm,
because one of the things I've set myself up for is being the person who has all the referrals for everyone. So
mm,
everyone comes to me, friends, colleagues, random people on the street. I'm constantly getting barraged with, do you know someone who works with this? And the accolade of being that person is
hmm
what's so important to me. And then also the fear of rejection, of judgment. If I don't show up, continue to show up as that person, which feels more like the two wing,
hmm
right?
I'm not being helpful enough.
Yeah. And it's my job. I'm the only one who can do it. You know that one too?
Yeah. So eight is sometimes
Mm-hmm.
described as Atlas holding up the world.
Yeah.
Like that's how we can
Yeah.
feel, not because of the accolades, but because, a lot of people aren't so competent and we're competent
Mm-hmm.
as fuck. So we're
Yeah.
just like, I have to hold all these things together. And if I don't do it, no one's going to do it. So yes, I do know that shouldering the burden of the world and having to learn to give that back.
Yeah. So if people want to find their type,
Mm.
what options do they have in addition to, of course, hiring you? I sent my friend to you for her birthday because we couldn't figure out what type she was. And she said that within like 5 minutes, you had typed her absolutely correctly. She was so impressed with that. So people can hire you. Amazing, wonderful. Maybe they can't afford that. So what other options are there?
Well, so let me be specific because I think it's important just in the Enneagram community to say, I don't type people. I help them assess their types, and I can
Mm-hmm.
provide like fairly confident sort of leanings, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing differential diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So, no shade to your friend because she's delightful. It probably was more than 5 minutes. I had a few strong suspicions. I had some rule outs.
Mm.
I was
Yeah.
like poking at, and she's the one who claimed it. She was like, I really feel like
Mm.
this. And I was like, yeah, that makes the most sense. So,
Yeah.
because it matters less well, this is an important thing for your audience for anything. It matters less what an expert thinks about you. It matters more what you think about you,
Mm.
always.
And that's true for therapy too.
Exactly. So yes, I do typing assessment sessions, but I also have a page on my website. So thank you for, and it's at rachelalexandria.com/find my type, but
Hmm.
it's like hyphenated find hyphen my
Yeah.
hyphen type.
Hmm.
And on that page, I give my because people kept asking me all the time, and I'm like,
Mm.
I don't want to do this, and people kept
Right.
asking so much. I'm like, I need to just make a page. Here's some
Yeah.
places you can go. Here's some. What I say is, I have a video on there, like a free video that gives you like a taster of what the Enneagram types feel like. Because if you can't get the energy of them, adjectives aren't going to help.
Right. Right.
I recommend following Enneagram and Coffee on Instagram.
Hmm.
There's all these typing tests you can take who at least give you examples or like kind of give you
Mm.
suggestions. And I list four of them. And then also on this page, I have typing assessment sessions that I've video
Hmm.
recorded with their permission and have shared. So
Mm.
you can watch
Oh, one
me.
for each type?
I don't know if I have every single type on there.
Okay.
I think I have at least 5 or 6 of them,
Hmm. Hmm.
not numbers 5 or 6. I have
Right.
at least 6 sessions on there, and there's probably a couple more I
Mm-hmm.
need to add.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can at least start to, and through watching some of them, you can kind of get the sense of the questions I would ask.
Mm-hmm.
And it may help, it may, especially if the person ends up being your type.
Right.
So yeah, that's a place to get started, rachelalexandria.com/find my type.
Yeah. I'm probably going to get the tapping for your type videos because
Yes.
I looked at the preview of it and started to cry. So that felt real, very real to me.
Yeah.
And I actually had an experience with tapping where I'm actually kind of bummed at the practitioner, but the tapping in and of itself was so real. Like that shit works.
Yeah, tapping was the first thing that was the part of the thing that had me into my first transformational experience.
Really?
It was. It was
Mm-hmm,
a it was a
mm-hmm,
mixed modality that included some tapping pieces. And
mm-hmm,
when I was like, what just happened? The practitioner was like, part of this you can go learn for free. You can learn about tapping.
mm-hmm.
And I immediately went home and like downloaded Gary Craig's book and all that. I was like, how do I do this? And I started doing it with all of my clients in my internship because I was just, you know how internship is. Like you get people in there who are not going to get better.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're just having to show up for meds
Yep.
or they're showing up because like they want the connection, but they're not going to get better. Not in that modality anyway, but tapping, like they could all tap with me and it would
Right.
be a relief.
Some relief.
Yeah. And I ended up writing a book about tapping.
That's amazing. I have a random question that doesn't
Yeah.
have anything to do with the Enneagram necessarily, or maybe it does. But one of the things that I find so fascinating is why some of us really show up for the deep healing work and why some people really get caught up in fear or denial and don't get to access that deep part of themselves in this lifetime. And I'm just curious if you have any thoughts based on your work with clients, what you've noticed. It's a big question.
It is. And I appreciate it because I do notice the same thing. Like, not everybody's here for this ride. I don't know about the why. I just know that it's true.
Mm.
And it's not at this point in my life. I might judge certain individuals because of my own frustration, because I want something more from them. But when I come back to what feels true, it's just something that is part of their path or it isn't,
Yeah.
And when I think about 7 billion souls on this planet,
Mm-hmm.
if we were all doing the deep healing all the time, like who would run the shit? You know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah. Somebody's got to make the donuts.
I mean, somebody's got to make the donuts and somebody's got to play the villain, somebody's got to hold the challenges for us. Not that like we never do that. Not like there's like good and bad and whatever, but
you're right. Yes. Someone has to create the challenges and
many someones. And if we're all one soul, if we're all one love, ultimately, if there's just one energy that is all of us, then there's parts of me out there in the world. That perpetrator is also me. Yeah, it just is different mirrors, different fragments of mirror everywhere, showing me the different aspects of myself. So when I see people who've done medium bad things or even really bad things, I always try to ask myself, is there a place where I can understand them doing that?
Yes.
Where I can feel in myself,
Always.
if I were in a different scenario, that I could understand, do I have a part of me somewhere who is that? And the answer is always yes. I mean, sometimes even on more minor issues, sometimes I'm like, I don't feel like that at all, but that's kind of different than could I be like that?
And I want to just kind of put a little nuance in there just for folks who might feel a little bit invalidated by that. Because what we're saying is that essentially it's possible to have empathy for every human behavior because it comes from trauma. It comes from pain. And we're not justifying that people who do quote unquote bad things that's right and it's okay. But, there is a level of acceptance. And I think once we get to the healing, like we get to be pissed and we get to grieve.
Absolutely.
We get to do that. And then when we come, because I'm actually in a situation right now with someone where I'm starting to create space for forgiveness for the first time in a couple years. And I had to go through hating them. I had to go through,
of course.
Thinking that they were the devil because otherwise I wouldn't have felt safe.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
heal.
Exactly. You have to other people in the moment, however long that moment takes. And I absolutely agree. I've been pissed at people. I've been tapping and be like, I would never do that. Who would ever do that? What a horrible person. You're the asshole, like partly so that I don't feel responsible. Like I've had to, I won't say everyone, I've had to blame other people for things and like shove everything off of me, except the things that really were on me, my behaviors that I really do think are appropriate to claim. But I've had to shove everything. Like some people will be like, well, it's always a two-way street. Fuck no, it isn't. Sometimes people are just assholes. In fact, I have a whole thing where I teach about how do you recognize harmful people and what do you do about it? Because there's some people that no matter how healthy you are with them are still going to be assholes and treat you bad. And to recognize that is critical, because otherwise you keep being like, well, what is wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? No, you're not doing anything wrong. They're just an asshole.
They're showing up as an asshole in this lifetime.
Exactly. On a spiritual plane, is there a part of me, once I've gone through that healing, can I hold these multiple lenses? And I'm not saying everyone should do it. I'm just saying it's worked for me, and it's necessary for me to do what I do, to understand that I am not exempt from behaving badly. And I think this is not just like a whole other conversation, but this is how people don't end up dealing with systemic racism and systemic sexism. They've othered it so much.
Yeah.
I'm not the racist. Well, except that can you find a place in yourself where you kind of are, because you are white and you grew up in a systemically racist society. So you have to be kind of. And that's not saying you're a terrible person. It's just, so the part of me who's an asshole, who can be ruthless, who can not care about people's feelings at times, or the narcissist in me or whatever, if I disown those, I can't be the full healer that I need to be, because I will always be running from that. And it prevents me from showing up for really difficult conversations. It prevents me from showing up whole.
Yeah. Well, that's a lovely place to wrap up this conversation. But God, I mean, we could talk for hours. We could. So you've already shared your website. Did you share your Instagram and wherever else other people can find you?
I believe my Instagram is, let's make sure, Rachel R. Alexandria. So it's my name with my middle initial in it, Rachel R. Alexandria.
Awesome.
Yes. So that's a good place to go if you want Enneagram stuff and whatever else I'm going to end up sharing on there.
Yeah, it sounds like you've done a really beautiful job of integrating a lot of different modalities, which is, I mean, we need to get access one way or another, and there's so many different ways in. And so it sounds like you've really created a beautiful marriage of all of those in your practice.
Thank you. I love it. I love now at this point, like no matter what we run into, I'm like, oh, I have like 15 things we can try, and spirit, just tell me which one, how to go. I feel like one of my specialties is resistance, because I can be with it and I can sit with it. There's always a way through it. Always.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really look forward to staying connected and supporting your work. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a wonderful conversation.
So what do you think? Are you as obsessed with the Enneagram as I am now, if you weren't already earlier? I love Rachel. I'm really excited to have chatted with her, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation. To find out more about Rachel, you can go to our website at www.headhearttherapy.com/podcast. Follow her on all the things, buy her books, buy the Tapping for Your Type. I think you're really going to dig her. Thanks as always to Andrea Klunder and the Creative Imposter Studios for editing and producing, to Liam O'Donnell for the album art, and to Ben Mueller for our theme music. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, bye-bye.